Guess what's happening again in Israel? Some mysterious signs are happening that somehow are hinting at a rapture. You heard it right, unexplained events that could be linked to something profound. Are these signs a message, a prophecy, or just a coincidence? The intrigue is real. So let's not waste any time. First, let's talk about rapture. The rapture is a belief held by some Christians, especially in the US, about a time in the future when all dead Christian believers will come back to life. They'll join the living Christians and rise up together to meet Jesus in the air. This idea comes from a part of the Bible called the First Epistle to the Thessalonians, which talks about being suddenly taken up. This belief, called dispensational premillennialism, sees certain things in the Bible as still waiting to happen. But this whole idea of the rapture is fairly new, popping up around the 1830s. It's not a belief from traditional Christianity and is mostly used by some fundamentalist thinkers in the US. The word rapture has also been used in other ways, like to describe a deep connection with God, or to talk about living forever in heaven. And among this rapture period, several prophecies are taking place, hinting that the rapture has arrived or we are in the rapture period. One such prophecy is the construction of the third temple and the discovery beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Some religious folks, especially Orthodox Jews, are really into building something called the third temple in Israel. This idea started in 1987 with a group called the Temple Movement, and they're serious about it. Even though not everyone in Israel is very religious these days, the Orthodox Jews feel they must build this new temple, and they're not asking for help from non-religious people. They brought back a group called the Sanhedrin, a religious committee to ensure everything went right. For Orthodox Jews, building this temple is super important because they believe it will make the world better. Gershon Salomon, who leads the Temple Mount Faithful, has been protesting and doing special things for the temple. He thinks it's part of what the Bible promised for the people in the Holy Land. The Sanhedrin, in charge of temple stuff, is getting ready by planting a special forest with needed plants. Rabbi Hillel Weiss, their spokesperson, thinks the temple connects the land and God. Surprisingly, most of the things they used as sacrifices in the old temples were plants that grew in Israel. During the construction talk, there was a discovery beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque. A British archaeologist, Robert Hamilton, found a Jewish ritual bath called a mikveh beneath the mosque's floor. This discovery has started more discussions about the historical location of the temple and the chance of building it again. In 1927, a big earthquake in Jerusalem caused damage, including to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. During the mandatory period, Robert Hamilton worked with Muslim leaders to do archaeological investigations on the Temple Mount. He documented findings from the Second Temple and Byzantine eras. However, some findings weren't shared at the time to avoid conflicts. 80 years later, these hidden findings match discoveries made by Israeli archaeologists Dr. Gabi Barkai and Zaki Dvira, who looked at the earth removed from the Temple Mount. They found remains of a Jewish mikveh from the Second Temple era beneath the mosque's floor, suggesting it was used for purification before entering the temple grounds. The earth also contained small items from the periods of the First and Second Temples. This discovery challenges what people used to think about the Temple Mount's history during the Byzantine era, showing the presence of structures, possibly churches. These findings shake up our understanding of the Temple Mount's history and remind us to rethink historical accounts throughout different eras, including the Byzantine period. Arrival of red heifers. Recently, 5 special red heifers from a ranch in Texas arrived in Israel, causing quite a stir, especially among those who believe in a prophecy about building the third temple in Jerusalem. These heifers are less than a year old, and if they stay completely red and flawless, they can be used to make ashes, which is important in Jewish law to purify those who have been near a dead body. This purification is crucial for the Kohanim, priests, who will have duties in a future temple. After arriving, these unique heifers went to Haifa for a quarantine of at least 7 days, following Israel Veterinary Authority rules. Afterward, they will be moved to 2 different places in Israel, with one eventually open to the public. They'll be taken care of until they are 3 years old, at which point they can be sacrificed, and their ashes will be made according to Jewish law. Bona Israel, an organization made up of Jews and Christians, played a significant role in finding and bringing these heifers to Israel. Byron Stinson, a Texas rancher working with the organization, raised these special cattle. The heifers had a special welcome ceremony at Ben Gurion Airport, attended by Temple Institute officials and other important people. In the Bible, the red heifer holds deep meaning. The ashes of a red heifer were used to purify the Israelites, as mentioned in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. These ashes were crucial for the purification rituals done at the temple. So, the appearance of a red heifer today is seen by many as a sign that the third temple will be built and that Christ will return. According to rabbinical tradition, 9 red heifers were sacrificed since Moses' time, but none after the second temple was destroyed. Rabbi Maimonides even taught that the Messiah himself would sacrifice the 10th red heifer. The recent arrival of these 5 perfect red heifers from Texas to Israel on September 15, 2022, is seen by many as the fulfillment of prophecy and a significant step toward building a new temple. The rules for a red heifer, as mentioned in the Mosaic Law, are strict. It had to be without defect or blemish and had never worn a yoke. Numbers chapter 19, verse 2. The red heifer sacrifice was unique in several ways, including using a female animal, being sacrificed away from the entrance, and having the color of the animal specified. The process of slaughtering a red heifer is explained in Numbers chapter 19, verses 1 and 10. Eleazar the priest oversaw the ritual outside the Israelite camp. After the heifer was killed, its blood was sprinkled toward the front of the tabernacle 7 times. Eleazar then supervised burning the red heifer's body, adding cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool to the fire. The ashes of the red heifer were collected and stored in a clean place outside the camp, used in the cleansing water for purification from sin. Those who came into contact with a dead body would go through a purification process involving these ashes, emphasizing the red heifer's importance in Israelite religious practices. These instructions about the red heifer foreshadowed the sacrifice of Christ for the forgiveness of sins. Jesus, like the red heifer, was without blemish. Just as the red heifer was sacrificed outside the camp, Jesus was crucified outside Jerusalem. The ashes of the red heifer cleansing people from the contamination of death parallel the sacrifice of Christ, saving us from the penalty and corruption of sin and death. Besides the third temple prophecies, a scary trumpet sound was also heard. Mysterious trumpet-like noises have recently surprised people in central Israel, reaching from busy cities like Tel Aviv to quiet towns like Julis. Even experts in Israeli law enforcement and the military couldn't explain these strange sounds, adding to the puzzle. But this isn't just happening in Israel. Similar weird noises called sky trumpets or skyquakes have been heard worldwide, from the United States and Canada to Costa Rica, Russia, the Czech Republic, and Australia. What's odd about these sounds is that they're unlike everyday noises. They're described as spooky groans or metallic vibrations, sometimes even resembling musical instruments. Some people claim they hear faint, unclear voices mixed with these eerie sounds. These strange noises have led to guesses about what they might mean, with some thinking they could be a sign of the world's end. Interestingly, these sounds connect to ancient stories from the Bible. The book of Revelation tells tales of 7 angels blowing trumpets, signaling big and often scary events. Today's trumpet-like sounds have been compared to these old stories. In those times, the trumpets, known as salpinkas in Greek, were unique, made of bronze with a straight shape and bone mouthpieces. The mention of woe trumpets in those stories indicates troubling events. And finally, the Battle of Armageddon. As mentioned in Revelation chapter 16, verse 16, Armageddon isn't just a big battle, it represents a global rebellion against God's rule. It's like a gathering point for armies challenging divine authority, not tied to one place. The name comes from Mount Megiddo in Israel, known for battles, and includes natural disasters, showing a higher authority's power. These events often impact nations that have drifted from moral values, like recent global disasters such as landslides, diseases, wildfires, and lightning. While Armageddon is often linked to destruction, it prompts reflection, change, and a return to important values. In our changing world, these ideas connect ancient prophecies, history, and today's events, urging understanding and unity in the face of challenges. So what do you think of the mysterious rapture signs in Israel? Comment below and subscribe for more.